If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bites. I'm Ben, and this is Syya. And this week's conversation comes right out of last week's conversation. It's the art of asking better questions. We need to ask better questions. It's not just why. It's the second, third, and fourth question that we ask after the why. It's digging in. It's digging deeper. It's understanding, what do people really want, need? What do they fear? What are their aspirations? What are their desires? What are their goals? Who are the people that they're doing this with, and who are they doing this for? And why is this a priority now and it wasn't a priority 6 months ago? Or does it something need to happen today? Or can it happen in a week from now and it's going to be just fine? We need to ask better questions, and it can't just be that one question. It has to be a series of questions to be able to understand what are the motivations behind the ask of what somebody is looking for. So, Syya, let's gnaw on this.
I've said this before, my friend. My word of the year is curiosity.
Yes.
And if you really intentionally stay in the zone, of being present, so being present in a conversation, that's critical, especially for someone like me where my brain squirrels all over the place and I'm like, focus, 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 right? The other thing, though, is while you're being present and truly listening to what you're hearing, listening to absorb, listen to understand, and be curious to question, what do they mean by that? What does that mean? What is whatever, who, what, when, where, why, right? Curiosity and just being open-minded. that was a joke. Sorry. I'm doing a lot of like K-pop lately, just so you know. Hongdae. Anyone that knows Korean stuff, the Hongdae joke is the Hongdae joke. Okay, anyway.
Okay. Back to the conversation.
Squirrel. So, but being curious, right? Like it is to try to understand, like, okay, why did you say that? What is going on? Who are we trying to accommodate? Is it you? Whatever it might be. And just asking the who, what, when, where, why. Just constantly be in that mindset. Let that individual do the talking, so you can, take notes and go like, okay, now I know what the ask truly is. Because most of the time when people are asking for things from you, it's usually not the first thing.
No.
The first thing is usually the task that needs to be resolved immediately. But the underlying, the umbrella thing is really what ultimately will solve the challenge that they're overcoming. But usually when people are asking for things, it's to stick that finger in the dam. You know what I mean? It's like, just stop the bursting.
Stop the water from spraying me directly. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I ran the Your Living Brand Live podcast for 5.5 years. We did hundreds and hundreds of episodes. And the best thing that it taught me was, I knew the first question I was going to ask somebody. I knew the last question I was going to ask somebody. And between then, it was just all about active listening and being curious. And some of the best podcasts I've ever done totally went off the rails from where I thought we were originally going to go.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, somebody said something. I went, wait, hold on. Hang on a second. Let's dig into that. And a conversation would happen that would just create amazing insights that, and questions that, I had people say over and over again, no one's ever asked me that before. And it's just because somebody twigged something in my brain that says, wait a second here, that doesn't make sense. Or what are you talking about? Or hang on a second here, that's interesting. And you're right, it's all about curiosity. It's about taking people as human beings and realizing we're all different. We all look at the world a little bit differently. Just because I say blue, is it a navy blue or is it a robin's egg blue? But we both say blue, and you think one way and I think the other. And that's the beauty of life, is to sit there and just say, okay, what did you really mean by that? Or what were you trying to get at with that? Or what was the motivation behind doing this, that, or the other thing? And getting into people's souls. And it's not, it's not about, being this stalking type person. It's about being the person who sits there and goes, wait a second here, what do they really want? What do they really need? What are their aspirations? What are their fears? What are their, you know, what do they want to be when they grow up? Or what are they scared of? And when you understand that, you can help people so much better. And you can come up with solutions that are so much better because you're not just sticking the finger in the hole because you see water coming out of one place in the dike. You're realizing that there's actually a degradation of the actual concrete because it wasn't mixed properly when they made the dike in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
you know and when you understand that, you realize that this is a far bigger problem than putting one finger in one hole in the center of the dike, because all that's going to do is fix a problem that's just going to create another dozen issues.
So I have a theory on this. Why do you think, Ben? Why do you think we don't ask those additional questions? Why do you think, as we've grown into adulthood, we almost suppress, intentionally so, our curiosity? Why do you think that is?
I honestly think that most of us don't have the mental bandwidth to care.
Ooh,
And that's might be a horrific and horrible and mean thing to say,
kind of is. Yeah.
but we've got so many different things coming at us from so many different directions at all the time of the day, whether it be live individuals, things that are social, radio, television, you name it, that we don't have the bandwidth to give any one of these one things the focus and the attention that it deserves, because we know there's another thousand things that are following it.
Hmm.
And therefore, how are you doing? I'm doing great. Great. Move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing great. Check the box. Okay, move on. You're not asking about, wait a second, your mother was in the hospital 3 weeks ago. How's she doing? How have you got her home yet? Did you have to renovate the house at all to put in grab bars by the toilet and the showers? How much time are you having to spend with your mom instead of at work in order to make sure that she's safe and she's taken care of? Is home just a temporary thing? Or are you guys having to go look for a care facility to put her into? How are your brother and sister handling this? Are they any help? Are they is there just inside squabbling? Very few people are willing to go to that level
Mm.
because they're sitting there going, I've how are you doing? You said fine, great. Now I can
Yeah.
move on.
I've got my own damn life to
I've
lead
got
right
my
now.
own,
Yeah, I
I
can't
have my
figure
own
my
life. I've
own.
got my own problems. I got my own mother I have to deal with.
Yeah,
Um,
there's truth. There's it's a sad truth though, is that because of life, we do tend to inhibit draining too much energy into something that may or may not be part of your life.
yes.
But it might be for that. But again, I would argue, but maybe in that moment in time of your life, it is a priority. So let's say I'm interviewing with you. I hate to say it, but you are my priority right now. And you're going to have to put your own damn life on the side, right? Because my goal at that point is how do I get in your good graces so I can get hired, right? So, but I notice some people can't let that go. They're like, yeah,
Right.
you're interviewing with me, but Jude, I've got my, you know, load of laundry that's like whatever, chicken in the oven, kids are running around, blah blah. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting how some choose to not be able to let those go for that moment in time. I'm not saying that it should always be that way. I'm just saying we've. I just feel like we've become a little bit too self-focused as a culture and society.
Self-focused, self-aware,
I don't know about
and
self-aware.
well, to a
I don't
point of
think
where
people are
it's all about
self-aware.
me. It's about my needs and what I need, and
Yeah.
and my priorities and my life and my family and my wife or my husband and my kids, and it's all about me focused and how do I solve my problems? And I have enough problems of my own. I don't want to hear about yours.
Yeah.
I'll say how are you doing just because it's polite, but truthfully, I really don't want to know
They say
because
Americans ask like other people don't ask that question. It's an American thing to ask and
yes.
not care for the answer. Like they don't wait for the answer.
Yeah,
Um,
I years ago there's a restaurant in Vancouver called Vija's, and Vija's is a very high-end Indian restaurant.
okay.
And the guy who owns it is a guy by the name of Vikram Vij. And I've met Vikram once, and I interviewed him. And he was one of the most singularly focused persons on you. When you were in a conversation with him, the rest of the world disappears.
Uh,
The rest of the world disappears. He wants to know as much as you want to know about him, and as much as you care about him, he wants to know about you. And it was more that we were interviewing each other than I was interviewing him,
hmm.
because he wanted to know my motivations, and he wanted to know where I was thinking and why did I ask that question, and what was the backstory behind this, or what was the motivation for that. And there are few people in this world that are able and willing to take the time and the energy to focus truly on the other individual. And I look at it and sit there and say, we've just become so inundated with data and so inundated with noise that we can't focus.
Yeah.
We've got too much out there to care about that we've decided not to care about any of it.
Such a sad, true statement. Think about, I'm guilty of it. 100%. Anyone that knows me, my phone is pretty much on my body person at any point in time. Like, I think I've said it before, man. If there is going to be a future technology where they, embed this screen into my body, I probably would do it because I, I'm addicted, right? Like, I love me my Candy Crush. People back off. No, but truthfully though, is it is that, oh gosh, I think I've talked to you about this before. So there is a Mr. Rogers documentary that just went out, and for those
Hmm.
I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but took a soundbite of Mr. Rogers saying, "I'm very worried about today. People are so on the go that they don't know how to just be quiet." And I was like, I just want to cry because it's so true. Like the only time that I stop and listen just to be quiet is when I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
And that's a shame, right? Because, you know, whether you meditate or not, or just take a walk in your neighborhood or whatever, just to get out and just enjoy the
Hmm.
sights and sounds and smells and whatever, you know, we just don't do that enough because we're always having a purpose. Like just like I'm motivated after this. I will just stand on my balcony and just yell at the bad golfers because I don't know if you guys heard, I just got hit. Our house just got hit, just so you know.
No, I didn't hear it.
But maybe I need to do that. Just appreciate to share people's success because it's a simple thing, and we don't do it. And it takes seconds.
But the problem is, it's not just our life. I mean, I look at, the soccer moms or the hockey moms or whatever who have got three or four kids. One's going to ballet, one's going to cheer, one's going to hockey, one's going to soccer. And then after that, they're going to basketball and swimming lessons and and choir practice and this and that, the other thing. And these kids are so structured that they don't know how to breathe on their own, and they don't know how to, as you said, to live in the moment. And
Yeah,
I'm not sure their parents know how to live on the moment either, because their parents are driving them hither and yon, and they can't wait till the oldest one turns 16 years old and gets their driver's license, so they can drive some of the younger kids one direction so they can drive the other.
yeah.
But it's like your weekends, your evenings, your everything are dedicated to these programmed and over programmed children
Hmm.
that enable you you don't have time to focus on more because your life is so programmed taking care of your kids or taking care of your household or taking care of whatever that you just don't have the bandwidth to add more to your life,
So
or
knowing
you
that,
don't
I mean,
want to take the bandwidth.
and knowing that that is a very real problem that a big chunk of the population has. Do we and are we forgiving, I guess, to understand that when someone isn't curious about things and we recognize it, should we offer information that might inspire them that they might need? Or do we withhold it because we're like, well, this person doesn't give two rats, you know what about me, so why should I share anything? Because that's a sticky wick too, is if they're not
Yes.
interested, they might not be listening. Or on the flip side, is it something good enough that you could like shake them out of it?
And I think that comes down to the individual. And I think it comes down to the individual situation and it comes down to the individual. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
No,
You
there
know, just
isn't.
like whether I care about you or I care about somebody else, I may give you 100% of my time. If you call me up and say, "Hey, listen, mom's really sick, this, that, the other thing," I may stick on the phone with you for an hour and have that conversation with you because you and I built a relationship of trust and we care about each other. But if somebody calls me up who I don't know, doesn't give me the time of day, doesn't do this, they may get 3 minutes or they may get 5 minutes, and I'll listen, but I'm certainly not going to give them an hour of my time.
Right.
And I think that we need to realize that we can't be present and focused for everybody all of the time, but we need to realize who are the important people in our lives for whatever reason. And they may just be important in our lives at that particular point in time. And a year from now, they may not be. But
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that they're not important at that point in time and therefore are worthy of us giving them the time and the effort to be able to make it, you know, and ask those better questions to be able to do this. And whether those are questions at work, whether those are questions at home, whether those are questions with vendors, with people in your church or your mosque or your synagogue, whatever. I think that we need to sit there and say we need to ask better questions because we care,
I
because
like
we
that.
truly care. And
I like that.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, on the flip side of caring, and I know we're trying to land this plane, but
Yes,
it did occur to me on this. Yes, are we asking better questions of the people that we're interacting with? But at the same time, if you're on that flip side, you're on the, if you feel like people are not curious about you and you're not getting that deeper, richer conversation, I hate to say it, are you putting enough information out there that you're
exactly.
interesting enough to have someone be curious about you? Because it's not always a situation where it's closed off. And again, I will say I'm guilty of this. I've been to enough networking meetups where I can read a room and the vibe I pick up, good, bad, ugly, different, if it's accurate or not. I'm just saying, I will put up a defensive wall
Hmm.
because I'm like, none of these people are my people, but I'm here. I'll be pleasant. I'll be kind. But guess what? I might have misread someone, but I didn't give them the opportunity for them to even see past, see a RBF face, right? Like,
Hmm.
and that's something I would also challenge people is if people like you feel like are not being curious about you, are you curious about them? Are you closing yourself off? Are you focused on your own agenda that you think you're being open, as in, oh, I'm open to share what I am, but not open to be curious about you, right? I think
Yeah.
there's so much to this. So, yes, I know I'm running long. I
No,
just
no,
really want to
but I
get it
think
out
this
there
is
though.
important. I honestly think this is important, and I think we need to leave it there. But I think, you know, Dr. Ivan Meisner, who started BNI all those years ago, started with the concept that givers gain. And givers gain is really this as simple as says, if you want something from somebody, you need to be able to give it to them. And I think that we need, and it's not in a transactional matter. It's if you want people to care about you, you need to care about them. And I think that and that's how you get better questions. You can ask better questions because you care. So let's leave it there. I'm Ben.
And I'm Sia. Everyone in the comments, please let us know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
And
like
we'll
and
see you
subscribe. Sorry,
and
sorry.
like
I
and
keep saying
subscribe.
like and subscribe. Damn it. I'm telling you, like and subscribe, people. Thank you.
Okay. And we'll see you soon.
Hey, hey, hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me at brilliantbeammedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bites.